Hello and welcome to Tinted Specs Podcast. I'm Georgina and joining me today is my very old friend, Bethan Bertrand. Welcome, Bethan.
Hello, Georgie. It's good to be here and thank you very much for asking me.
Yeah, I am so pleased we could fit it in because I know you're very busy baking. Can you tell everyone about your business, where you live and the family? Introduce us to the family too.
Okay, so I'm Bethan Bertrand and I'm founder of 16.macarons. I set up in where I live, actually. I bake from home, my kitchen at home, which is why it's called 16, because that's the address in Ascot. Well, it's not even Ascot, it's Bracknell, but it's between the two. So it's like, well, should we be that way or that way? Ascot sounds better. So, and I live with Roy, my husband, my daughter Yasmin, and my son Xavier, and they're 14 and 11 and growing up fast, very, very fast. So yeah.
When did you actually set up 16.macarons then?
So I set up just before COVID. It was October 2019. I literally walked out of my job in July 2019, which I'd only taken temporarily as a kind of 2-hour morning a week, thinking it'll get me out of the house, get me doing something. And it was designing shutters for these big houses in the area, which was lovely because I love going into people's houses. I like having a nose. I love designing. It was really easy for me to do. But it wasn't what I wanted to spend my life doing. And one day I had a bit of an argument with my manager and I walked out of the job just thinking, I can't do this any longer. But then on holiday, because every year in August we go to Spain with my mum, and we were sat in my mum's favourite bar, which is called Eric's. It's not her favourite, but it's one of her favourite bars called Eric's in Puerto Banús. No, it's not even Puerto Banús, in Marbella. And it's a real people watching place, and you walk in, it's just colour everywhere. And, you know, you go in and there's loads of beautiful bottles and glasses. It's, you know, lots of different gins, lots of different vodkas, lots of beautiful spirits and the beautiful bottles, beautiful display. And then they have beautiful ice creams, beautiful chocolates and beautiful macarons. And so, you know, it's a proper cocktail type experience. There's always very, very, very rich Russians there and Arabs and beautifully dressed Chinese. It's just, and they're all dripping with wealth. And so you can go and just spend an hour just ogling at people. It's fantastic. But also, it's just the colour you're just surrounded by this amazing colour. And we order lots of macarons. They're gorgeous. They're so nice. And then we were sat there and I thought, God, you know, we don't have this in the UK. There's nowhere that you can go to that has this kind of sophistication and colour and absolute just heavenly kind of taste. You know, it tickles every sense. I love going there. And so I said to Mum, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn to bake macarons and I'm going to do this in Ascot. I mean, my dream is really to have a place like that, to have this amazing cocktail bar that people can come in, you know, during the day as well. It sells tea, coffee and beautiful bites to eat as well as the macarons. But I thought one step at a time, let's start with the macarons. And that's what I did. So we got home, everybody thought I was joking. And I was like, right, that's it. I set up my business there and then.
That is absolutely incredible. I mean, so how did you learn how to bake macarons?
You know, when you don't know how to do something, you don't have that fear factor because you don't realize what's involved. Yeah. So I kind of imagined it'd be just like baking a cake or baking, you know, you get home, you can look in a recipe book or online and you see a recipe and you bake it and it tastes fine and it's always like, oh, well done me. And I thought, oh, it could be the same baking macarons. So I went online, found a recipe, followed the recipe. And as my daughter keeps telling everybody, my first batch of macarons was a complete disaster. What did I do wrong? They taste amazing, but they look like little brown poos. on a mat because they weren't like flat and beautiful and smooth and poofy. They were just like these little poos, like, you know, little spirals. I was like, what? I followed the recipe, but they don't look anything the same. And I put them together and they look really cute. And, you know, because they're like little poos on both sides, and I put a white fondant cream on the inside. And Yasmin was like, that's not a macaron. That just does not look. So I was like, okay, let's try again. My second batch, absolutely amazing. They were really, really good. So I was just like, I've got it. This is great.
Wow. Yeah.
They were so good. And I remember I put, I think I put a dark chocolate with a raspberry coulis in the middle. So they were like, and then I also kind of dusted them with a silver, I did them purple shells and I dusted them with a silver kind of powder. And
wow.
They went down a treat. They were absolutely fantastic. So I thought, I've got this nailed. It's absolutely fine. And then this was, I think, the beginning of September.
So let's just recap. So at this point, literally, you got on holiday to Spain, to Marbella, come back.
Yeah, so we got back on like the 29th of August.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna bake macarons.
Yeah, bake macarons. So
go online.
September. Yeah, go online. Bake my first batch. Didn't work. Do it again.
Second batch, perfect. So right, here we go.
The first week of September, I'm feeling good. I'm giving them out at school, saying, look, I'm going to bake macarons for a living. Try this. Everybody's like, wow, this is fantastic.
Did you have the brand name at that point?
I did, because I'd been in Spain for a month.
Yes.
So I was thinking about it and I'll stop writing things down. And I was
yes.
like, what are we going to call it? Why is it going to be called this? And it was a bit of a nod to my dad, because my dad had designed our house and I was going to be baking these macarons from the kitchen. We thought, well, 16, it's a nod to my dad. He never got to see the house after it was finished.
Yes.
And it's in memory of my father, really.
Yeah.
So I'd had all of that kind of planned, and I knew exactly what it was going to be called. I knew exactly kind of what I wanted to do and why I was doing it.
Yes.
Really to fill a gap at the very beginning. Because,
yes.
Whenever I tried to find beautiful macarons in the UK, it was really difficult. You can get macarons, but they all taste really nasty. And, I haven't got the money or the time to kind of traipse to London to Ladero to get them. And this is before really everything was online, because during COVID, everything changed and everything is now online. So that was the reasoning behind it. And it all felt good for the first week of September. And I was like looking to register my business. I was like, right, this is going to be done properly. I'm going to be a limited company. And it was all on, above board. And then it took me till November, and I'd already put a post out on our local community Facebook page saying, I'm now baking macarons. I all of a sudden had like, where's your website? And I was like, oh, well, I haven't done that yet. But people were already starting to order macarons. So, and then there was an event. So they were like, well, we've got this event coming up. Could you bake macarons for this event? So I was already getting the orders in. And I had to fulfill these orders. I kept baking macarons. I didn't bake a good set of macarons then until November. It took me every single day, blood, sweat and tears, failure after failure after failure, because they're so difficult to make. That it was a really hard journey, but it was really good because I was learning all the time. And I got through different things. I got through events, and I was able at that point to, although I was having all these failures, at the same time I was building my brand. I was getting the bags printed up. There's all sorts of things happening at the same time. So it was a lot of hard work. I built my own website, did my own branding, did my own marketing. I was like jack of all trades right at the beginning. It was that's how it started, and it started to go really well. I had that Christmas, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, I'm making a profit, and I'd never made a profit before. So it was just like, wow, this is amazing.
I think it's incredible, because not only did you have to learn how to bake the macarons, but you also had to come up with, the whole kind of unique selling point, so to speak, behind it. You found a niche in the market. I mean, at the beginning you kind of made it sound like, oh, I just came up with the idea, but you clearly had a very strong vision of what you wanted to get, and there was a need for it as well, which is obviously vital. But then you had to learn about the branding, because it's not just the macarons, they come beautifully packaged, don't they, as well? So there's the whole that side of things as well. So that's a huge achievement.
Well, I think it comes quite naturally. And I think being an artist, I've got a very strong visual idea of how I want things to be branded, how I want things to be received. And I always think, how would I want something? How do I want to feel? And how do I want to, and for me, if you, the whole thing to begin with, as I set up, it was slightly because I couldn't afford a premises where I could have this beautiful cocktail bar. So I thought, well, the next best thing is to gift people. And I was thinking along the lines of Chanel. And, when you buy a beautiful perfume or a beautiful piece of makeup or a beautiful silk scarf, it comes beautifully packaged.
Yeah.
You open it, and part of that joy is just receiving the bag in the first place, and then opening the tissue paper, and then opening and seeing the colourful delights inside. So I thought, that's what I want to achieve. So, you have this journey from start to finish, like, until every last morsel has been devoured. There's been a journey, that kind of gifting. And that was really important to me. So I always kept this in mind when I was creating the branding. It was just keeping people happy.
Well, more than happy, it's a luxury, isn't it? It feels like a treat.
Yeah, feeling treated. It's not just happy. That makes people happy, but it's that absolute feeling of being treated and pampered.
Yeah, that you're special. And we must talk a bit about your background. So I've actually got one of your prints here behind me. Paintings, not a print, actually, it's a painting, sorry. And I just looked at it yesterday and I thought, clearly there's some macarons going on here. So how you used to paint, and I think you're going to start start doing it again, was very visual, was very color based, like you said, was very kind of, you think about exactly where things are going to be positioned on the page. And so you could see if everyone has, in fact, I'm going to bring it forward, where you kind of got your, don't want the reflection from the window, where you probably got some inspiration for your branding and how you wanted it all to look. But yeah, I can't believe it. There's clearly 2 macarons there as the feet.
It's true. And actually, so many people have pointed that out to me. It's like, oh my God, the macarons are like your paintings. And and there is going to be work coming about where I tie in the 2 together. So 16 will have a different leg where it would be 16 paintings, and it, and not just paintings, because it might be that we print, crockery, for example, because a lot of the events that I'm doing, they need crockery. I don't like throwaway crockery where it's plastic based, but if I can find crockery that's, eco-friendly, made out of natural materials, that you can either keep or reuse or throw away, it doesn't really matter, then that's kind of where I want to go with it. So it kind of ties in. So, I'd love to have a macaron stand that has my imagery on it, for example.
Yeah.
It all ties in together, because I think I was just destined to make the macarons because they are like the paintings. I just have this thing for little pillows of colour.
Yes. And how you described them on the website is just so amazing. The perfect, tantalizing little pillows of sweet tasting deliciousness tickle all your senses blissfully. I mean, come on, who doesn't want a 16 macaron after that? We want you to feel totally treated, caressed with flavor, and to just simply ooze with ecstasy. I mean, I think that's just amazing. So tell us a bit about the flavors. Do you make up, because the only place I could think of where you can get macarons is that really expensive, is it a French brand?
It's Labouré. Okay,
Yes.
so the Don is a guy called Pierre Hermé, or Pierre Hermès. I don't know how. I mean, being French, I guess it's Hermé. And he is the architect of the macaron. So he has the most amazing flavors, and he was the one that really kind of celebrated the macaron. He's still alive. He still bakes them. You can order them online, and they are amazing. For me, the flavors, some of them work and some of them don't. I have his books. And I'll be like, well, I'll try that one and I'll try this one. But they're not necessarily to my taste.
Yes.
But they're great. So, you know, there are people that do fabulous macarons. There are many in London, for example, where you can go and get your fresh macarons. And if you get fresh baked homemade macarons from an expert that can make them, they do taste amazing. You know, it's not just my own macarons. I will celebrate macarons by anybody that can make them. Seriously. It's the shop bought ones and there are ones online where they are homemade, or they look like they're homemade, but they're actually manufactured. They probably started off being homemade, but they're manufactured, they're mass produced, and they use different ingredients, and they just taste artificial, and they're dry and they're biscuity, and they're just not so, I think because I've always had the opportunity to travel, and I've been to Switzerland and France and all these amazing places, and had, you know, the luxury of being able to eat macarons in these fine places. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I liked. I knew what they should taste like. So
yes,
it's like going to, you know, Marks and Sparks and picking a box of 12 up for £5. They're not the same, you know.
No. And the colours are important as well, aren't they?
Yeah, to me, I think because I have always used colour in my paintings, I like vivid, bright colours. So I try and make my macarons. I do use artificial colours. They're food colourings, but they are numbers. But they're such tiny quantities. I'm like, well, I don't care. But some people might do. So if you don't want lots of colours, it's such a minimal. Because I don't know whether you've ever seen pigment before, but you use the tiniest, like a few granules.
Yes.
And you know, it explodes with color. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, the color's very, very important to me, which I absolutely love, these zinging, bright, vivid colors.
Yeah, the colors are beautiful. And when you decided to set up in your kitchen, I mean, obviously we can see your lovely kitchen behind you with the kind of island in the middle. But when you first started to bake, how many were you baking in a batch? Like 20 or something?
No, probably it's always been about 35, purely because that's how many fit on my baking tray on my mat. So, but it's the bakes that I do, the better bakes are 70, because I don't know why, but when you bake 70, they come out better every time than 35. So,
wow.
I know. So basically I do half quantities. When I'm doing so I supply restaurants and hotels, and they want like 30 of each flavour. So I have to do half batches, and they come out fine, and they are brilliant.
Yes.
I don't know. For me, I don't know. I think it's the volume. My paintings were always big. I like voluminous paint. I like voluminous gloop. And so I always feel better. I don't know whether it's the love that I put into it. I'm not sure what it is, but I prefer a bigger batch. A big is beautiful.
And how long do they take to actually bake?
So
from beginning to end, so preparation. Yeah.
Beginning to end preparation for me, for one, whether it's 35 or 70, it doesn't really make much difference. It's 4 hours to get them in the oven and out the oven. And then they have to rest for 24 hours and then fill them. Well, no, they don't rest. Sorry. I tend to fill them the next day, but then they have to rest for 24 hours. So I bake as many as I can in one day.
Yes.
Box them all up so they don't dry out. And then the next day I fill. Because if I haven't got the time, because there's only me doing it, I don't have the time to bake, fill. Lots of people do, but I just like to get all the baking out the way in one day.
Yeah, and then you've got a clean slate for the next day to do the filling.
And then I can do the fillings.
So, like you said, you set up, this was summer 2019, and obviously things were really set up around Christmas. Things were going well. You were getting in orders. And then obviously March 2020 kind of happened.
Well, you know what? It was so interesting because over that Christmas period, I realized just how much work is involved when you have lots of individual orders from individual customers. So I was doing lots of bags for lots of people. It's a lot of work. So I thought, the best thing for me to do is bake bigger batches for bigger clients. So I immediately thought hotels, let's take it to the top end. Let's go 5-star.
Yeah.
So I started getting in touch with lots of people. LinkedIn is a fantastic forum to contact people and to find people. So use LinkedIn. And I had amazing contracts in place, a couple of hotels in the area, really, really good hotels. We were about to sign contracts on the day that Boris shut the whole of the UK. So, that kind of just went completely, I just wasn't able to continue. So it was back to supplying individual orders to individual customers, which has been fine. It kept me going throughout the whole of COVID because there was no way I could do anything else.
No, I think that a lot of people in the catering industry ended up having to do that. There's a lady called Flora from Flora's Food and Kitchen down in Exmoor, I want to say. And she went from big weddings or about to do big weddings because the summer season was kicking in, and then ended up kind of doing takeaways or providing kind of shops with takeaways because to fill, to make sure that the brand keeps rolling over, because that's the most important thing, I think.
Well, that's what I thought, is just keep ticking along, everything. And I actually, at the beginning of COVID, I definitely thought it'll be over in a month. It'll be over in a couple of weeks, a couple of months at the most. I wasn't despondent about it at all. It was just like, right, what do I do now? That's gone. Let's move forward in the best way we can. And that kept going. And you just go with whatever's happening, don't you? You just have to adapt. And that's what we did. And that's what I thought, just keep the brand going. I don't want to die. And actually, it was interesting because during that whole COVID time, because I didn't know about the hospitality industry before, not really, because I knew a little bit because my parents ran a bed and breakfast and that was about it, really. I knew about customers, but I wasn't really massively into the hospitality industry. And I in that time, I realized just what a fantastic industry it is and how supportive people are. And what an incredible people-orientated industry it is. It's just amazing. I love it. I love it. And so I got to build relationships with people and find out as much as I could about about that industry. And it was a really good time. And they're struggling a little bit now because a lot of people not like me, but a lot of the chefs, they're struggling to find chefs because chefs started cooking out of their kitchens, supplying direct to the customer, and finding out that they could earn far more money doing that that they do working in a hotel or a restaurant. So they are struggling a little bit now, but I'm sure it'll all even off because working for yourself is hard, and there's a lot of competition, and COVID's not around forever. Then we'll just get back to normal slowly but surely, and they will find employment again. But it was okay for me. It was fine, and I've always people have always said, right, well, in September when things open up again, this is what we're going to do. There's this event, there's that event. So I want you to do this. I'm opening this shop. So it's been okay.
And but I suppose the other thing is that you had both the children at home from school for a lot of that time when you were doing your baking. So how did that impact homeschooling and baking?
I don't know how, but I've never really been bothered. So lots and lots of people were like really stressed and worried, but I was just like, don't worry, have a 6-month holiday. It's fine. I mean, who cares? I was like, who cares if you get A's and B's at school? Who cares if you've lost 6 months of your life, of your school life? It just doesn't matter. And I think I'm quite lucky because my kids are very bright. They don't struggle. They haven't got learning difficulties and disabilities. So I wasn't worried that they would struggle to catch up. I knew that they would. Actually, my daughter Yasmin, she didn't take a 6-month holiday. She was always, as soon as she had she's got an amazing school, so they'd set the work the night before for the next day. She'd already finished it that night, so she'd always have the day off, and then she'd do her stuff in the evening as it was set, and she'd always get it finished like within a few hours, like literally 2 hours. It'd be set at like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock. she'd have it finished by 10:30. And so she'd always have the days to just enjoy and chill out, do whatever she wanted. If she fancied working some more, she did, or she watched television, played games, went for a walk. My son, literally nothing. I had nothing from the school. It was all, self-led. I would have to find the stuff off the internet. So I was just like, stuff that. I'm not going to do that. I haven't got time. So he literally had a 6-month holiday, and I said, enjoy it. But for me, it was such a win, because in September, when they went back to school last year, he said to me in the car, I think it was about October, November that he said it, but he said, that's the best 6 months of my life. I loved it, because he loved being at home. Sometimes he came, helped out with the macarons. Sometimes he just was in, just watching me. We were just chatting, and it was so lovely. It was so nice. And we didn't worry. We didn't stress at all. It was just, this is as it is. And then when it continued and they were off school again, they were brilliant. They had really good, the school kind of got it together, and they had online learning, and I just left them to it. So I was very lucky. I didn't have kids in my way. And actually these school holidays have been slightly more difficult, because because we haven't gone to Spain, I felt that I need to give them something. So I've been taking days off left, right and centre. And every time I take a day off, it's kind of like, well, I have to catch up the next day. So it's like a 6 a.m. till 12 o'clock at night scenario.
Yeah.
I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way.
And did they help you with, because you've got some fantastic visuals on your Instagram page and the Facebook one, of like, sped up videos of you baking the macarons and stuff like that? Did they, because I think Xavier's pretty technical.
Yeah.
Did he help you?
He did. So Xavier did the speedy uppy video for me. Yasmin edited it, because she's got amazing editing skills, and I just give her all the footage and she goes off and does it. And Xavier is the one that's there filming me. So well done to both of them. But
I think it's so inspirational for them both to see you set up the business in front of their eyes, and for them to have a chance to be involved as well. I think is wonderful.
It is really good. And actually I've always believed it's really important that they see everything. So they see, there's days where I throw things on the floor, because I'm like, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. What am I doing? I just get absolutely overwhelmed by it all, because things aren't working, or we're struggling financially, or whatever. And I just think, I can't do this anymore. And then the kids, they see that, but then they also see how I get over it.
Yes.
Carry on, because I think continuity, perseverance, that indomitable spirit, you just keep going, whatever. And knowing that you've got this mountain to climb, and you're going to get to the top no matter what. They see that, and I think it's really important. So they don't just see the wins, because otherwise they just end up thinking, oh, life's just about winning. It's not about all the crap that comes with it, which I think is just as important. If you're learning anything, it's learning by mistake, really.
Yeah.
Because that's when it hurts, you learn a very good lesson.
And I know that you love biking. Would you call it biking?
Cycling.
I call it cycling.
Oh God, yeah, completely. I'm obsessed.
So that helps you to relax as part of your downtime. So I'm saying biking, but it's cycling. It's proper cycling. It's road cycling, yeah, with road a helmet, cycling. With clip-on.
Yeah, road cycling and racing as well. So I was racing right up until October 2019. Then I got a chest infection, probably COVID, but I never got tested. But it lasted until probably about December last year. So it was a good, like 12, 14 months of not being able to breathe properly. And I now have like really bad asthma when I'm cycling. So I have to have my inhaler.
Yeah.
But probably pushed it too hard, as an athlete, and then was exposed to a million viruses in the race, which was a 25-hour race. It was a Red Bull 25-hour time lapse. So it was literally going as fast as you can for 25 hours, around and around and around. It was nuts.
As a relay type thing.
Yeah, it was a relay. Yeah. And so when you weren't cycling, we were in this tent with about, I don't know, I think there was about 400 other people there.
Yeah.
Maybe more. There was there's 200 teams of 4. So yeah, about 800 people. 800 people in a tent. And most people are university students carrying so many diseases, and they're drying out all their wet clothes on these heaters that all these germs are just going into. Oh my God, I was so lucky.
Well, now I suppose you'd look at that situation very differently to what you did then. Do you know what I mean? Like now you'd be like, oh my God. But at the time, probably you didn't think that much about it, or did you?
Well, at the time when I entered, I thought, oh, it'll be easy. It'll be fine. It'll just be, cycling on a bike for 25 hours. It'll be absolutely fine. But I didn't think, you don't know that that's going to be your environment.
Yes.
And now I know what I'd be letting myself in for. I'd be like, no. And, we were up against 22 professional teams. So there was Ineos there and, all the proper teams that do the Tour de France and the Tour of Britain and everything. And we did really, really well. In my team, there was like a 17-year-old, a 24-year-old, a 34-year-old, and me. I was like, me? I was just making up the numbers, I'm sure. But we did really, really well. But I don't think I'd ever do it again.
No.
That was too much. I would much prefer, I did a leg of the Tour de France. So it's called the L'Etape. You can pay and stay in a hotel and you go and do it. And that was tough. That was really, really tough because it was going up a mountain. It was 135 kilometers up a mountain it was an average of 11%, which is really, really steep. And that was hard because I didn't do it fast. I did it in like a really, really slow time, but I did it. I got to the top and I was really, really happy. We drove up it 5 times thinking, I'm going to have a heart attack going up here. This is ridiculous. But I did it. And that was by far preferable to the 25-hour race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that this, because you have always done sport, haven't you? You've always actually been quite high kind of level, because before I know Roy, you met Roy through doing, I'm going to say the wrong name. Yeah, I was going to say the right name. Oh, that's good. Taekwondo.
Yes. Yeah.
And because I've known you for basically pretty much all your life, but I remember when you first met, and I remember how much time you spent training to do that. And so I think what's really interesting is whatever you do, Bethan, you put everything into it. And also you have real determination, and you have a vision, and you have, I can't think of any other amazing, but you really do have, it's kind of self-control as well, I think, and you have a very strong work ethic, which you can see when you're doing sports, but obviously it comes across with you setting up 16 and your end vision as well. It's fantastic.
I always think that everybody is like me. I just think it's normal. And Roy always says, but everybody's not you, Bethan. You have to remember that it's not like that for everybody, but everybody can be like that. I think the thing that I do that other people don't is that I face my fears. Whatever I'm afraid of, even if it's death, I face it and just go through it and think, well, if I come out the other side, it's going to be better. And I have that faith that it's going to be fine on the other side. I
think it's very also, because I tend to do that as well, but I call it like I jump out of the plane, but then I freak out afterwards. Whereas I don't think you freak out afterwards. I think some people don't do it. Oh, you do? Okay. Because I'm like, I'm going to do this. I just do it. And then I'm like, as I'm jumping out of the plane, but I've already jumped, so I have to do it.
That's like committing suicide. We had a conversation about that the other day, about there's a lot of suicide victims that don't die. And they say they didn't realize until they're halfway down that they really didn't want to do that.
Oh,
they were lucky. Yeah. That's the freaking out you're talking about. It's like you can't. Yeah, no, I do freak out. I do. I do all of these things and then think, what the hell am I doing? But I have that. You've got to have that faith. It's going to be fine. It's for the best.
Yes. I think it's brilliant, and I think 16. I can actually envisage, a cafe, a high-end cafe bar with your paintings on the wall, selling macarons and God knows, all these other delicious things.
Oh, I would love that. But I don't know. Do you think it would work? I always have this fear, thinking, oh God, maybe that's not what people want.
Well, two are definitely going to work and are working are the macarons and the painting. So that's 2 legs there for definite. So where can people go to buy your macarons, and where do you obviously if they're staying in certain hotels, they can get them, but they can order them online as well, can't they?
You can order them online. The only thing about being online, and lots of people say, Beth, you shouldn't do this. You should actually always sell online because that's the way life is going. But a macaron is fragile. And so when you post it, I can't guarantee that they're not going to crack or get a bit damaged and come a bit, little bits of flaked off when they arrive. And I am a bit of a perfectionist, so I want things to be packed perfectly.
That's the other word I forgot. Perfectionist, yes.
It's not a good trait to have at all. And but so yeah, I find it very difficult posting them out because I think it's in somebody else's hands. It's a postman that's just flinging it into his van. He doesn't care, and it pains me to actually post it. So although I do post online, and you can find me at www.16with2eyes.co.uk. That's the one. You can order them online, but it's just remember you're paining me because it might not come perfectly.
That's really funny. Yes, if you order online, every time Bethan posts a package, she's just having a heart attack. Bethan, thank you so much for chatting me today. I know you've got 400 macarons to cook for a
christening.
Not a wedding, a christening with gold on. They sound delicious. And so good luck with cooking them. And I will see you very soon. It's been far too long. Take care.
We'll enjoy a bottle of wine very soon.
Yes. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.